All right, welcome to another edition of our Fearless Forecast, Tony.
Ronnie.
It's a two-man show.
Yep.
And this is a huge week. We've been leading up to this point. Obviously, Conley and Rose play each other.
Big game.
But some other good games on the slate here as well.
Several, actually.
And we're going to reverse it a little bit. We're going to lead up to Conley Rose.
Oh, okay.
Just to tease the fans out there a little bit.
I see, but we're leading off with a good one.
But we are, that's what I said. So we have some good games to get there, but we'll end with the big matchup. But start us, Tony, first one, like we said, two undefeated teams, conference opener. South Central is traveling to Eastern Wayne.
Yeah, and it's a contrast of styles. You've got a high-powered, high-scoring South Central offense going against a very stingy, lockdown Eastern Wayne defense. Both teams off to 4-0 starts. You know, it's going to come down to, can South Central do enough offensively to overcome how good that defense is at Eastern Wayne? And I feel like a player like Sean Furlow, who we've talked about pretty much every week, and deservedly so, coming off a monster game, you know, over 300 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, and a win over Hertford County. It's going to be a battle of wills there, and if they can get Furlow going and have him running downhill a little bit, you would feel like South Central had the advantage even on the road. Yeah,
I think it's a really tough matchup, close matchup. Who are you going to pick?
I think South Central will keep it rolling. I feel like that week last week, as if Furlow wasn't already a confident enough player and that offense wasn't clicking well enough, putting up those kind of numbers, 44 points. I think they were on the road, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
At Hertford County, 44 points there. Offensively, they probably feel like they can beat everybody, and so far, nobody's proven them wrong. So I feel like South Central will get a win.
All right. I've kind of gone back and forth on this one. I think I'll go with the Falcons as well.
Okay.
I think it's close. I mean, they gotta go get it done. And something to note, they play Rose next week, New Bern the following week.
Yeah.
So if they need, you know, out of those 3 games, this is probably the most likely of a win.
Yeah.
So
you don't want to look ahead.
Yeah.
And
but,
you know that coaches and players say that all the time, but you can't help but think that is one of the toughest 3-game stretches for any team in the county. And it begins Friday night. They definitely want to get that win because you know that you can't guarantee anything against New Bern and Rose.
Yeah. So I go with South Central in a really, really close game. They got to go earn it, though.
Yep.
Definitely. Next one, another undefeated team, a team that we love to talk about.
Absolutely.
They're now 5-0, ranked 5th in the 2A poll. Farmville Central is hosting South Creek. A South Creek team that we're getting kind of familiar with, kind of a new school, I think about 4 or 5 years. Is off to a 3-1 start. So their best start easily in school history. They've had a few winless seasons, 1-win seasons.
Yeah, building that thing.
It looks like, they're starting to gain some ground. I don't know the teams they've beaten, if they're really good. Or, I mean, you never know kind of this early in the year. What we do know is the Jaguars score a lot of points.
Explosive, man.
I saw them last Friday. They beat up on Green Central, a Green Central team that isn't that bad. I didn't think. But Farmville Central, first 5 minutes, scores 3 touchdowns.
It's incredible.
Kind of put it away, and they kind of messed around a little bit and didn't finish it when they probably could have in like the 3rd quarter or so. But man, I was impressed. First time I've seen that team play this year, and they're rolling.
They really are.
Really hard to stop an offense right now. Defense is playing pretty well too, doing what they need to do. So I think this is an interesting game. I think they're better than South Creek for sure.
Yeah.
They're at home, so I'm going to pick the Jaguars. But you know, until somebody stops them, I got to go with Farmville, and I don't think it happens this Friday.
Yeah, I mean, dropping 50 points against Green Central, they're putting up massive amounts of points and yards every week.
Good point.
And they get it from so many different people that you can't really key on just one guy. I feel like that offense is too good. I think they'll be 6-0 after Friday.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a
really
great
cool
start.
to see. Next game, speaking of Green Central, they stay in county. They go to North Pitt this week, coming off a bye week, but still looking for its first win.
Yeah, you know, North Pitt is probably thinking, we got a chance on Friday. They're familiar with Green Central, first of all.
Yep.
I mean, they've played them every year for God knows how long. I think North Pitt, did they have the bye week last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were off.
You know, I feel like Coach Bowl and his staff probably are trying to work any kind of magic they can to get off the schneid there. You would hope that they would have enough to get it done. Haven't really been consistent, been giving up points on defense, not scoring enough on offense. But, you know, a 1-4 Green Central team going into Bethel, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, that's it. Alan Wooten coaches Green Central, too.
Yeah, it's a neat time.
So, a pretty cool matchup there.
Yeah.
Who are you going to pick?
I'm going to have to stick with Green Central. I mean, North Pitt hasn't shown me enough yet. Maybe they can prove me wrong on Friday.
All right. Yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more. I watched Green Central last week. I think they're better than their record.
They ran into a juggernaut in Farmville Central.
I mean, the quarterback's pretty good. Running back's pretty good. I think offensively they have too much probably for North Pitt. Still some answers about North Pitt's offense and what they can really do consistently.
Yeah.
So I go with Green Central. I think it could be close though.
Yeah.
Next game, then we'll talk about Conley Rose. Southern Nash is traveling to Aiden Grifton. Speaking of a team offense that's struggling, Aiden Grifton just can't seem to find playmakers, can't seem to
consistently.
Get the snap and then the quarterback and then the handoff. A lot of weird things, fumbles and mistakes.
Yeah,
that are just plaguing that team right now, especially on offense. Like I said, last week they got shut out, which is really rare for the Chargers.
In high school football, period, it's hard to get that done.
So this is another big game. I mean, they're gearing up every year for their conference run.
Always,
to do well in that conference. They won the conference last year. They're always a strong team, but they got some work to do. I hate to say that, but there's no sugarcoating it. They need, especially on offense, to find some guys who they can depend on.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked really so far. It hasn't been consistent. So it's a process that's still ongoing. Southern Nash is 2-2, has some history as a pretty good program, a pretty good team. So I think this is a close matchup. Probably a big game for Aiden Grifton. They need to get that thing turned around. Even if it's not a win, maybe they just need to get some points would be great. And get some positive things going. So I think a tough game. I think it's a tough game to pick. I got to go with Southern Nash. Though. I hate to do it for the Chargers. I know they're at home, but man, the performance last week and the way it went
down, kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, it doesn't make you feel good. So I'm going with Southern Nash to win a close one.
Yeah, after scoring a lot of points in the season opening win, that offense has really kind of gone off, and that's not what you expect from a Cornwall coach team. You mentioned those mistakes. Those are things that we're not used to seeing. I mean, even in years like last year when they got off to the terrible start, they got those things cleaned up as the season went along. It seems like, we had week 5 last week, and a lot of those things that I didn't even see in the opener were happening in that game where they got shut out. But I'm going to be covering that game at Aiden Grifton, so I'm picking the Chargers.
I like it. It's not a bad pick. I thought about doing it as well, but I like it. That little difference of opinion there. All right, last game, the big one, Tony.
Yeah.
D.H. Conley is 4-1. Travels to undefeated J.H. Rose.
Yeah, and just from a competitive standpoint, you would like to see D.H. Conley at full speed with starting quarterback Ehlers in there. He is not. He will not play for them. I think he's going to miss a couple more weeks because of surgery on his thumb.
Yeah.
And that's a shame because you would like to see both these teams at 100% full strength going at each other. That's not going to be the case. Rose going to be at home. That is a tough job for Conley. Really tough job.
You gonna go with an upset, or you taking?
I'm picking Rose, and I don't really. I feel like it'll probably be close for a half. I feel like in the second half, Rose will start to pull away. The offense is just. The defense is really tough too, but offensively, I don't see Conley matching up with them that well. Now, maybe that's bulletin board material for Conley's defense. If so, go out there and prove me wrong, but I feel like Rose just has too much.
All right, I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Rose as well. A couple things to mention though, maybe a couple things to watch. Special teams. Both teams have good kickers. Maybe that's what Conley can, maybe they get a punt return or play field position, something like that to kind of stay in the game. Nate Evans.
And slow the offense down.
Exactly. Yeah. Nate Evans is a kicker for Conley. He's actually going to be our featured player this week.
Right.
Rose has a good kicker as well, so maybe they need something to bounce their way in special teams.
Yeah.
The other thing is kind of my soapbox thing, but I covered both of these games last year, both at Conley. And that place was packed.
Yeah.
It was rocking.
Yeah.
Most fun I've had covering a high school game.
It was
really,
phenomenal.
Really long time.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I think Conley's fans last year played a role in Conley's win.
Yeah.
I want to see if Rose can do the same. That it's a bigger stadium. It's obviously more difficult to make it as loud.
Right.
But that's almost a challenge to the Rose fans, the students.
Yeah.
Go see that game. That's a huge
Both
game.
student sections bring it, no matter what.
Yeah, it was fun last year. I want to see the same thing again.
And even in some non-conference games that I've covered at Rose this year, the students were loud through the entire thing, even in a blowout. You know they're going to be pumped up. So will Conley's fans. You're right. If you don't have anything to do and you like football, go see that game on Friday.
It's worth it. It's so much fun last year.
Yep.
Hopefully it's the same way, but I agree. I think the Rampants are too much.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be an exciting game for sure. So obviously a big slate Friday. We got more games coming up. We're kind of getting the thick of the conference race.
Yep.
It's a big one. So check out Reflector.com, grab the paper, and we'll see you next week.